So, where's John? Have you got the mic? Oh, he's got the mic. John's the man with the mic. Who would like to ask the first question? That lady over there.
You thought you said that fat lady.
Oh, I didn't say that. I said that lady. No, I didn't. I said that lady.
Question to Darrell. When you formulated your plan at the end of the season to bring a new squad in, to form a new squad, did you expect it to go as well as it seems to be going at the moment?
I've been disappointed with the points total so far, to be honest, but it's what I will say with the group, and first of all I'd like to thank you guys, the supporters. I've made me feel, I know I haven't got to see much over the last 6 months I've been at the football club, but speaking to one or two that come to the training ground, so I really personally appreciate all the support. I'm feeling the place and how I want to be so successful for you guys, to bring success to the club, so I just wanted to say that. On the squad front, what has surprised me is how close-knit the group is already, if I'm honest with you. The spirit within the group's outstanding, the environment's fantastic now, and that's going to give us a great platform for success. And it has surprised me in that aspect. On the recruitment of the players, a lot of work we've done on the recruitment, with the recruitment team that we've got in place, and we feel now, and this is not to knock one or two lads last year, but we just feel like we've got some real good characters at the football club now that are going to push it forward, and there's a real emphasis of wanting to win and wanting to do well. So I've been delighted with that for the start of the recruitment period.
Can I just say something?
Yeah, don't this one.
I was talking to one of the players who's joined us since, one of the loan players that's joined us, and I asked him how he was settling in and we were looking after him and everything. And he said, and I said, what is it like to join a group that's already formed? So although they've not been there a long time, they've been on pre-season camp, they've obviously been together for a number of weeks. And he said that when you join another club, if there's sort of factions, if there's a problem within that dressing room, it's really difficult because you don't know which side you should be on, you don't know who you should be speaking to, you don't know, it takes you a long time to work out the dynamics of the dressing room. And he said here, that doesn't happen. He said it really is as one. And he said, and I've never been made so welcome in a football club in the time I've been playing. So I thought that was really good, because that's coming from a player who didn't have to say that. He could have just said yes. But he took his time to say it, and that's, certainly when we go away on before a match like we did for the Forest Green match, the atmosphere in the room when they all have their dinner and everything is phenomenal. It is close knit. You can feel it. So the feedback from the players is that it is a really close knit team, and I think personally I can see that on the pitch as well.
Eddie was one of my teachers, you know.
I take no responsibility for that. He was in the bottom stream, I tell you.
I was.
Darrell, a question about how you actually recruit players. In the old days, clubs had loads of scouts who went to games. They'd report back to the manager, and maybe the manager would go and have a look at the player. John Roger always used to say he never signed a player he hadn't personally looked at. Now, you've emphasised a lot of this system data analysis, or whatever you call it. Do you actually end up going to see that player still, or isn't that necessary these days?
I mean, it'd be... It was...
Shouting. I've got that voice, I'm alright shouting. So I think with the amount of recruitment we've had to do, it's impossible for me to get out to games, obviously, to see the lads that we've signed. But now with so many platforms that you can go and watch so many games with these players, so during the course of me signing players, I've obviously got a good understanding of the players anyway, and I've come up against them as a manager, so I know a lot about them individually. But then we obviously do a lot of work on the video work, and the data only tells you so much, though, guys. I'm not data driven. You know, it gives you a certain amount, but what it can't tell you whether the hunger, the desire, where they're at in their careers, and we put a process in place which I think which was needed to make sure that we're not having that scattergun recruitment, that there's a way that we're going about it, and planning windows ahead as well, because although I want to really settle this group down now, we've got a lot of new players coming to the football club at once. I want to settle it down now. There will only be a few tweaks in January. It's about working with a group, getting them better on the training pitch, getting them better in training, getting better in matches, and that's up to me, myself and my staff to be able to do that. So the recruitment process is not always capable of going to watch players live, but I'm still a big fan of it, and we are getting our scouts out to go and watch games, doing 2-3 reports on players, and they come back to me. In an ideal world, I'll get out and watch them, or certainly a member of staff will go and watch them.
Thank you. Next question, Malv.
Is there any news on our goalkeeper? I mean, it was apparently last seen off near the halfway line.
Critical, yeah, Lucas. Listen, Lucas has got to calm down a little bit. We've had discussions with him, but I do want an aggressive goalkeeper. I don't want a goalkeeper that stays on his line. I want us to defend with a high line, to sweep up behind it. So he's made 1 or 2 errors. He's dwelled on the ball when he shouldn't have dwelled on the ball. But he's a very talented goalkeeper, in my opinion, a fantastic shot stopper. So I'll give him the full confidence, like I will all my players. But I don't want him to be making those silly mistakes further down the line. He needs to learn from that. But he's a great lad, and he's desperate to do well for the football club. But we certainly don't want too hot in the mouth moments when he's dwelling on the ball. He's got to, his starting position is very good. He's very aggressive with that, which I want to see, but there's no need to dwell on the ball as he has done on a couple of occasions and cost us.
Brilliant, thank you. England and Hungary's just started, Eddie. Next question, please. Here's John.
Here's Johnny.
Yeah, I just wanted to say thank you firstly to Carol, because my dad died of cancer just over 12 months ago, and you personally sent a message of condolences to us, so it meant so much to my family, and you gave us some flowers as well, so that was a big thank you for that. And to Mark, with this stand together, will you be doing bucket raising? Because I think people like my granddad who can't really get onto the internet, you can't really chuck a fiver in. I think you'd probably get a lot more money raised on match days.
I think that's something we're going to look at going forward, as we go through the season. But obviously, we've got to go through the club on the right game, and I think bucket collections like that are now are booked in advance. So we can talk to the club, and that's something we can do. Yeah.
I'll just add to that, Mark. We did actually have a bucket collection, and all the buckets are all marked up, ready to go. I sorted it out with Colin, and then the pandemic stuck. So they're still in my garage at the moment, ready to go. So I just need to organise it. Yeah, empty.
Next question.
Well, I'll give it to go again.
Okay.
The 2 projects that you're running side by side, which is the John Roads and the Lower Street, don't you think that's pushing it a bit too much in one end? Couldn't we concentrate on one first? Because I think it's nearly over £200,000 you're expecting to raise between 2 projects. I mean, the Lower Street now has got the seats fitted, which is absolutely fantastic and makes the ground just one. And also, of course, in the concourse, you've got the players' gym, haven't you? Which is, I don't know how the gaffer feels, but I mean, if that's something he likes and likes it being that close, perhaps we could concentrate more on, I'm not trying to be biased here, but on the John Rudge statue, and get something like that, rather than try and split it into 2 halves and demoralise people because the funds aren't being...
I can answer that question. 1, I like a challenge. 2, the the stand together was an idea that came through Facebook from the fans, as you know, and we've collaborated that for it. The John Rudge statue, that's put together because we wanted to do that so John could see that statue. We wanted to do it for his 80th birthday. I think both are achievable. There are a lot of ideas we can't really go into tonight until we've met with the sculpture, but there are a lot of ideas that will bring funding in for the statue, which will make it a lot easier to do. And you know what? The Vale fans are fantastic. I told Darrell that they've done so much in the past to save the club. And the other night, like I said earlier, we lost 3-2. They played great. The fans stood, clapped them off. Brilliant. And I think they'll get behind that. And we'll see where we are. And we haven't set a target to say we're going to do it in this amount of time or that amount of time. We'll do what we can as we do it. And I know it seems a big task, but I like a challenge.
Well, fair enough. I just thought it was, splitting the two.
Yeah. But we've got a plan, and we've got 2 committees working on that, so it'll be good. All right, thank you. Next question.
Darrell, will you be sticking with the 3 or in trying to cement that so it's 100%, or will you be going to 4, starting 4 sometimes as well?
Yeah, I made the point earlier. I didn't want to bring a squad that was one system. If I'm honest with you, we've got good adaptable players to fit a few systems. I like that way of working. I know that's not everyone's cup of tea. I appreciate that as well. But there's nothing set in stone. I think the 3-5-2 so far this season. We played a 4-3-3 against Tranmere for the first half. I think it's working quite well defensively. We want to get more control in the game. We want to get more opportunities at the top end of the pitch. We've got good wide options with Dennis coming in, David and Lou, Divanti, Rodney, and I know David and Divanti can play up front as well. We've got Hursty, so we've got options in the wide area. So I think it's just important for me to having that adaptability in the squad for rainy days. If 1 or 2 players break down in a certain system, we're not reliant on that system.
Next question. That nice lady there.
She's nothing like me.
Question really, both for Darrell and for Carol, really. We've had this sad news about Lee Collins. How difficult is it, Darrell, for a player to communicate to someone at a club when they've got those type of problems, dependencies? And is there someone, Carol, at the Vale that players could go to speak to?
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, it's a massive issue now in the whole world, isn't it? Mental health. I think I'm hoping I can say this, that I have a very good working relationship with my players, that they know the door's always open, lines of communication, always interested to know how the families are and what's going off, and just reassuring them. We do touch on it because it is a ruthless world the footballers are in, and I know to everybody else, and rightly so, they are the privileged ones, but they're still human beings, and they still have the pressures of life and the pressures of performing on a Saturday. And trust me, there's not many players I've managed that don't actually care. A lot of the players do actually care, don't get me wrong. There's 1 or 2 frauds out there that are happy to pick the money up and turn up and not give their all. But a lot of players do care, so making sure that the mental health well-being is very important for us as a football club and myself, because if that's right, they're obviously helping them to perform on a Saturday.
So long. Oh yeah. I think if you look at the way that we are as a football club, there's a good relationship between the players with Darrell and his backroom staff, but there's also other members of staff that they can go to. We're a very open, inclusive club, and we had a barbecue and a family get-together for the players and the Vale staff before the season started, because I think Darrell and I are both very clear that families are so important and they get forgotten quite a lot in football, and so we're getting to know them and looking after them on match days. and just really caring about them because they're an important part of that player's life. So on that side, I'm okay that I know that for all the players, you know, they would, even if they didn't go to Darrell, and I think they would go to him, but even if they didn't for some reason, there's lots of other people around the club that they would go to. In the longer term, I mean, looking at the Lee Collins situation, I've worked with Adam Yates since he finished football here. I do tease him and say I only told his mother I'd have a coffee with him, and I've not shook him off since. But I was so delighted to work with him. He's so lovely. But he's taught me a lot about footballers post-football, post that playing part of their career. And he was particularly affected by it because it came unexpectedly from an injury during a training session. So there was nothing that would prepare you for that you're going to go out, have a training session, and you will never be able to play football again, which you can't because of the injury on his eye. So there wasn't that sort of gradual movement, that gradual planned exit from the playing side of football for him. And it was tough, it was really hard. Because you know he'd give anything to be out there. But I think that's why he makes such a good commentator, and I'm sure Matt will agree he's a good commentator for Radio Stoke at the games. He has been working with a number of other players with the PFA, and they sent an open letter to the PFA to say that it should be mandatory that every club has a welfare officer for clubs. And I know from talking to players and talking to our players of where they've been, you know, previous clubs, not every club's like ours, and not everywhere has that support system and that interest, because we always talk to our players about what are you going to do when you leave that, you know, the playing part of your career, you know, and how can we help you? Because we know that it's different for players than it is for other people. So in answer to your question, I think, you know, the mental health of players, both before they finish playing and after, is absolutely essential that it's looked at by football clubs, but also by the PFA and the other regulatory bodies to put structures in place that if there are clubs where they wouldn't do it themselves, it is there. Do you agree? No?
Yeah, no, to be fair, the players, David Worrell's our PFA representative, and the PFA come out and do a talk and talk about this. So he gets a bit of criticism, and I'm sure a lot of people weren't happy with Gordon Taylor's pay when he was the CEO, which is right. But it is a fantastic union for footballers. You know, even they get put, I think it's £6,000 a year into a pension that they get when they're 55. That's what I say about the privileged ones. So, but they've also got that support for gambling problems, mental health problems, and loads of issues. That they've got a really good union there that they can turn to as well. It's obviously yourself and Carol.
Just following on from what you've been talking about, I'm personally someone who had suffered with mental health issues and done a lot of fundraising recently. I did some laps around the pitch here back in May to raise funds for Mind. Is there something where, I don't know, every other month or something, where fans who may be struggling or want to talk and get together with maybe a couple of players on a weekday or something where they can, you know, get together and talk and have a chat, have a coffee or something like that? Or is that something you already do here or not?
Changing hats now and putting my Port Vale Foundation hat on, because anything to do in that sort of respect with the club goes through the foundation. They're responsible for all our community. They are very keen on working in that mental health area, and we've got a member of our board, Simon, who's also a director for I can't remember what it's called now, but it's the NHS part, integrated care service, isn't it? Which is where the NHS are going out into the community to get help because they recognise that they can't do it all, And football clubs are brilliant for particularly male health, whether it's mental or physical. And so we are working with them and with the EFL on how much more we can offer in that way for our fans, because I think you're absolutely right. We should use that power of football and the power of a football club, and you know, to see what other clubs are doing. And I was on a call the other day with a number of other clubs of, you know, whether it was people being overweight, we're starting a programme for that, whether it's you know, mental health or they can't get a job, whatever it is. You come to a football club and you're not judged, and I think that's unless you're on the pitch and then you're heavily judged, or you're a manager, then you're really judged. But everybody else isn't judged, you know. So it's a really good place to come and to get that support. And we recognise that, and that's why we're building up as many programmes as we can.
Come and have a coffee with me anytime you want as well, mate. No problem.
Thank you.
Brilliant.
Brilliant.
Jean! I can see you. Oh, she's waiting for the mic. I wonder where she's going.
Thanks. Can I ask Darrell how he achieves any sort of work-life balance as a football manager? Because I often think in most jobs at 5 o'clock you switch off, you go home, and you're with your family, and that's it. But how do you as a football manager ever switch off? And how do you react to defeat at home with your family around you? Because I know Eddie, when we lose, he's not fit to live with.
My wife will say exactly the same.
Yeah.
I mean, I've never been able to deal with it. It's something I've tried to work really hard at. I just can't. And this is going to sound really, really bad, but it feels like a death in the family when I lose a game, and I've never got around it. I'm a zombie for 48 hours, and I feel. On the Monday morning, I feel better when I've analysed it, got what I needed to get off my back to my players, gone through the videos, the good and the bad, watched the game back on the Sunday morning, and then get my head around it. Because what I will say is my players will never see me in that state, you know, because as a manager you have to lift the players, you've got to lift your supporters, you've got to lift your players, you've got to lift your staff. So it's a mourning period for me personally, but then ready to go back to war on the Monday. So yeah, it's a tough one. And I spoke to loads of managers. I've worked at different ways of trying to cope, and I still haven't found the answer.
He has an amazingly supportive wife as well. Amazingly supportive.
Yeah, no, she's great. Yeah.
You say you're not fit to live with for 48 hours. He's not been fit to live with for 50 years.
Is a divorce lawyer in the house?
Yeah.
Darrell, you were talking about players just. We know one left yesterday. What about the other two? They're in that little bubble.
Yeah, I mean Scott and Danny. I made it crystal clear at the end of the season. These are never easy decisions. You know, they're decent lads. They're not easy decisions to make. I just felt where we was moving forward, they weren't going to be part of my plans. And I had such a new group to bed in, which is a lot of coaching work for myself and my staff. I just thought it was right for those three to realise that there wasn't a future at the football club, and to train with a youth team, which can be harsh, but they all accepted that decision. They understood where I was at, and you know, I wish them all the best. We'll probably look to try and get Scott and Danny out on loan to the conference if they want to take that opportunity, because I think it's in the best interest that they go out and play football, but certainly not bad lads.
On that note, Darrell, with budget-wise, is there not an opportunity to give them a chance to go and find football, or is that not a discussion that you'd be willing to have?
I don't know. Sorry, just.
So, like, let release them in the contract, maybe. Is that not something?
I'll answer that. Do you want me to answer that from Carol? Yeah. To be fair, we the lads are contracted, and contracts in football, as we all know, are binding. So, you know, we've been in discussions with the players of potentially allowing them to do that. They haven't took that option yet, which is understandable as well. And I'm certainly not having to dig at the players for this, by the way, guys. It's just that's football. They've got the bills to pay. They've got to earn a living. So that is something we've sort of looked at to try and do a bit of give and take both ways with that. So we'll just see how things are developing.
But it's definitely better for a player to still have a club rather than be released unless they've got another club to go to. So if we can get a loan for them, which we're actively working with them and their agents now, then that would be good for the club and it would be good for them.
How far, the lad from Bolton, how far is he off full fitness?
Dennis, so he played three games, not a full 90 minutes in there. He would have played Tuesday night, to be honest with you. Bolton had let him. Where we played a game against a pro chance football team the other week, which got some minutes into him there. He's looking sharp in training. He's a great option. Certainly a great option if the 3-5-2 is not working into a 4-4-2 or a 4-3-3. I see him in the position the wide player coming inside on his right foot on the other side of the pitch in a 4-4-2 or a 4-3-3, but he looks promising.
So I work with a 2 or 3 Bolton season ticket holders. So you've got a player on your hands if you get it fixed.
Yeah. No, he's exciting me.
Darrell, what's different about Port Vale compared to the previous clubs you've been at? And secondly, is there anything you'd like to bring to Port Vale that you've experienced at other clubs?
I find the supporters of Bristol Rovers, to be honest with you, and the Port Vale fans, I think they're very, very similar. They're very, very passionate about the football club. The football club means everything to them. And the thing I want to bring to that is that every time the players go on the pitch, they represent what I want them to represent and what you guys are about, that they give everything and leave nothing out there. And I've been beat four goals at Bristol Rovers before, but the lads have got clapped off because they give absolutely everything, and that's what you guys want to see. Yes, you want to see an entertaining, high-tempo football game as well. So always bringing that to football club.
Darrell, just a quick one, similar to that one really, about your career as a manager in a whole. This squad of players you and David have built now, where would that rank in your whole career with squads in terms of ability and of course on budgets that's been available to you as well?
I'm not going to sit on the fence. I'm very excited with the squad. You know, we've got a top 10 budget. We have got a top 10 budget in League 2. I've had tremendous support from the owners. I look at it as me, and I like to think you guys have heard me enough now to say, I say it how it is. I'd be very disappointed if we're not successful with this group of players. I think there's loads of improvement on it. We've got an average age now of 25, that's down from 28. And they excite me, and why they excite me is that how the training is and how they're working, and when we do our video analyst meetings, and they're a real good group. So I am excited. I think it's a talented group. I think it's got a good mixture in there. And I'm looking forward to showing that, but talk is cheap, and I get that. At the end of the day, the proof will be in the pudding over a period of time. My team, which you're not going to like to hear this, don't relatively start great. At Bristol Rovers, we had 9 points after the first 9 league games, but finished on 85 points. But I pride myself as a manager and a coaching staff that it's not about revolving door, keep turning over players after players after players. It's about working on them. You know, the players that we've got at the minute, 1 or 2 of them have ropey starts, you know, so you're managing a little bit of adversity in 1 or 2 of the players, and then others have had a very good start, so, and they'll keep learning and progressing as one as we move forward.
Darrell, if you borrow a player from another club, are you under any obligation at all to play them at all? I've heard of deals whereby if you don't play a player, then you have to pay. Are you under any obligation? Because with Lewis Cass, for instance, I think developing wonderfully, I think brilliant on Tuesday night. Would you have to play him, or if you don't think he's any good, is that it?
I don't do that, to be honest with you. I've turned down many a loan opportunity for that, to not have that. I don't think anybody should be given a right to play in the team if they haven't earned that right. It puts me off some of the big hitters of the Premier League that talk about the Papa John's Trophy and they want the young lads playing games, yet they'll say they'll want a 50,000 promotion bonus if the lad comes into your team, for example, or doesn't play amount of games. You know, if he's not playing, you have to pay the full amount of his wages, which can be extortionate, to be honest with you. So I personally, you know, it's not everyone's cup of tea, but I come away from doing deals like that. When I bring a lone player in, it's up to me whether I pick him.
Too right. What success look like this season?
Say again, sorry?
What does success look like this season?
I'd be very disappointed if we don't make the top 7. That's me, and that's where I stand on it. And I say that to me being very honest, I say that to Carol, that you know, they're not putting me under pressure to do that. I just feel that with the group we've got, with the togetherness we've got, with you guys behind us, if we can get that bit of momentum, like get ourselves into that. I know it's early days yet, but get ourselves into that top 7. I think we'll take off, because I just feel it's itching. It's itching to get there. I think you guys are desperate for these lads and myself to be successful, and if we can just push ourselves into there, the momentum will take off at this football club, and you know, none more deserving so than the owners. I think they're fantastic people.
You mentioned how tight-knit this group is. Now, with it being such a big overhaul in the summer, how hard was it getting all these new players in such a tight-knit group so quickly? So did they gelled really quick, but with there being, you know, 11, 12 plus players, is it hard to get them all gelling at once as a group? Or?
Yeah, it is. I'd say it's one of my biggest strengths, though, to be honest, getting a group of lads to come to war with me. One of me, you know, I pride myself as man manager in building team spirits, building training exercises that build the spirit together. You know, Carol's massive behind that with the barbecue, the wives, the partners, the families. We want to have a real feel together. I know this is very important for Carol, is that everybody feels like it's a family here, the supporters, the players, and that. And I think it's a very, very powerful tool to have. I really, really do. If you get that togetherness, no club is successful without togetherness. End of. Do you understand? Now, to get that togetherness, results, obviously, is the main ingredient. But if you can work that platform that stays strong through some bad times as well, eventually you'll see the rewards.
Can I also say that when we had the pre-season training camp, I went along to that, and you know, I look at training and I think, well, this looks good, but I've no clue what they're doing really. So I asked for some time with Andy, so it was Andy, Dean, and MJ, who's the analyst. They just went through the plan with me. They went through the training and the detail that was in it. And then I sat while they worked out what the next day's training session was going to be. And I said at the end, I said, I've no idea whether what you've come up with is good, but by God, the process is. I mean, it was amazing. I mean, you know, the amount of discussion about the finest bit of detail they would go into. And it is very much about their planning. I've been so impressed to see it. And the work that Darrell did in bringing those as a group of players together as a team, and to sort of to allow themselves to become vulnerable. And I think that's a thing that I've been really impressed with, is that you know, it is ruthless as an industry, and it certainly is as a player. And you've got to feel safe. You've got to feel safe in the space that you are, and that's what they've created. Is that you can see that they really, you know, they get on with each other. I mean, it's not all rainbows and unicorns. Don't get me wrong, but they do get on with each other, and there is this real respect. Because you know, you haven't brought in people who don't have that same attitude as they do, have you? It's very much, there's been as much about what type of person are they as to what sort of player are they, and there's been a balance of the two.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to speak very highly of my backroom team. You know, Andy Crosby's a fantastic coach. A couple of promotions at Southampton, worked with Nigel Atkins, Dean Whitehead, who obviously assisted Sam Ricketts at Shrewsbury. So I've got a real good professional backroom team now. The club's in good hands, whether I'm sat here or not, to be honest, because my job as a manager is to make sure that those are in place, and it's your guys, you know, you want to see the professionalism around the football place, because while it doesn't guarantee your results, if you get the environment, the training, the attention to detail right, it builds a platform for the football club for the foreseeable future.
Brilliant, thank you. Eddie, there's been a goal. But it's at Sandbach United. Luke's just scored for Kidsgrove, so you're all right. No England scores yet. Next question, over there. Behind you, John, just at the back there.
Hi, Carol. Just a quick one. I look after disability football at Stafford Town, and there's a huge presence at the moment behind disability football, as you saw with it being on BT a couple of weeks ago, which was fantastic. I've just wanted to bring it up. Have we got any idea if is it in any plans in the future? Because I know, well, we're playing at Stoke at the weekend, but Stoke have got 3 teams, Aston Villa, Wolves. I know they're all big teams, but I think it'd be a good opportunity to sort of us to step in. I know FA have got funding there available, but I just know now that the numbers we're seeing at Stafford Town are ridiculous, and I stand there sometimes and think, could we do it potentially, and look at where we could go with it?
Tom Sherritt will probably phone you tomorrow. But yeah, I mean, we do, this again comes under the foundation, and you know, you look at the range of teams that we've got in there, it is about very, very much about being inclusive. And the walk-in football has been really successful. I somehow have ended up on their WhatsApp group. I have no idea how. I really have no idea how, but it's great. There's a wonderful spirit amongst them. I don't tell them, none of them are going to watch this. But you know, the football, the disability football that you're talking about is, I mean, I don't know whether there's a plan, I'll be honest. But there probably is. I'll probably get a call off Tom by the end of the meeting saying, why on earth haven't you told him about this? But you probably will get a call.
Yeah, it's just one of them. I'd be more than happy to help out. So.
Brilliant.
Next question. Down here, John.
Yes. Do you have an update on the loyalty scheme, Carol? There was a no.
No.
Last season, you talked about introducing a loyalty scheme for away matches.
Yeah,
Now,
the point system for away.
Yeah, the point system. Thank you.
Yeah. We did talk about that, and we couldn't do it at that time because of our ticketing system. We've now changed our ticketing system, which will allow us to do it, but we haven't done it yet. But it is still something that I very much want to do. But it's Colin. Colin? The loyalty scheme. We haven't really made any progress on it yet, have we?
No, it is something that we want to do. It's just a case of calculating the points across all areas of the business, because we're hoping to take the BMS system that we're now on into different areas. So those who are in railway on Saturday will see that the kiosk is set up to take contactless payments. So that's something that we're trying. As I say, across all areas of the business, we've just got to make sure that the rewards work probably a little bit like Nectar points do, and the old Tesco club card type scenario.
Yeah, just saying about the contactless, we had tried it, as Colin said, in the railway on Saturday, in the railway paddock. So we'll, in the new kiosk in the railway paddock. When we had the pre-season training camp, the ops board of directors went so we could spend some time with the players in the evening, but we then had a strategy day, and during that day we went through, well, we did the list, which was beyond measure of what we needed to do at some point on the whole of the site to get this up to, you know, probably won't be Bolton standards, but you know what I mean, it's got to be, we've got to take that investment that hasn't happened in the last 20 years, and then what do we do moving forward in the next 20 years, and what do we prioritise, and what needs doing, and the list is huge. We've focused a lot in the past 2 years in compliance. When we came, there was a lot wrong with the stadium, and the safety advisory group were at the end of their tether because work needed to be done, and which we've now done. So we had a safety advisory group meeting the other week, and it was really harmonious, and because they can now see that the list of where they can see we need to work, that we are working on it, and it is on a plan. And so some things will take time. It's like Mel has been really good because he's not mentioned the toilets and the bike cars once yet, which is brilliant. However, I'm going to face it up, and it is on the list, and we do care, but it's trying to do everything all at once. You can't, and so we are prioritising what we can do. So the loyalty scheme hasn't hit the top yet, but it will do, because it is something that we all want to do. However, we have been working on the toilets and the bike cars.
Can I just say, just mention two people in the room. Patrick's, wherever you go, Vale, Patrick's there. He does such a lot, and he never comes out, no one knows what he does he? But he has a lot to do with the shirt designs, doesn't he?
He doesn't know what he does.
All right. But he's there at the back, so there's Patrick. He's a great guy.
So Patrick is, I was going to say eldest son, he's definitely eldest son because he's the only son, so this isn't confession. Patrick is kind of the representative of the Shanahan family within Port Vale. His sisters are very keen that he does it. Although they like the Vale, they are more than happy that he comes and works here. We're at a point where when you take on a project like this, you have to look at the end point of your exit strategy. So there's going to be a point when Kevin and I say, right, we're going to hand over the day-to-day running of Vale to somebody else, and within the family there has to be someone that we would then hand over to. It's not going to be for a long time, don't worry, but it's meant that Patrick's now got the opportunity to come into the club and learn about different areas, which is why it's hard to give him a title, because at the moment he's learning about the recruitment. So he's one of the scouts who've been doing scouting, but he's been learning as much as he can from Dave. He learns a lot from Darrell, as do I have to say. I went today. I go for one of my seek to understand, Darrell. I don't understand why we're doing this. But Darrell's brilliant at just taking me through, but teaching Patrick. You're doing the level 4 safety course. Not that you'd ever want to be a safety officer, because it's far too much compliance for Patrick's liking. However, it's really important that he knows that this is what needs to happen in running public events. This is what needs to happen on when you're responsible for a stadium. You've been involved in the design of the kit, and so. Don't keep having a go at me that there's no black in the home strip. It's him, okay? So there's lots and lots and lots of areas that Patrick's involved in and learning and growing, so that he becomes very knowledgeable about Vale, and that we know that we'll hand it over into safe hands eventually.
So that's Patrick at the back. Got to mention Kevin. Legend. I really want to go a night out with Kevin on the beer. I think it'd be a fantastic night. Me and Kevin drinking Guinness would be great. So it's nice to see you come along tonight, Kevin, and it's great. And I'll just be drifting off asleep, and my phone will go, and it's Kevin Shanahan's liked a picture at like 1:20 in the morning. But no, he's great. He's dead approachable. He's such a nice guy. And also, I've been doing this role now for about 4 years. I've been involved with the Supporters Club as Vice Chair from about 2013. Colin, over there, is on his phone. I think he's missed two Supporters Club meetings in all that time. He's come every one. He came to all the ones when we were going through all the challenging times. He's never not come along. And so, you know, a lot of respect goes out to Colin. If we have any issues or anything we need, we pick the phone up and Colin will sort it out. So round of applause for Colin, Kevin and Patrick.